Hey, what's up everybody? We're back today with a different type of video. I had a recent conversation, kind of an interview conversation with a friend of mine. He's like a tech lead at his church, and he was trying to figure out how I have gone about introducing new people, new team members into kind of, you know, the daunting task of the soundboard or the light console or pro presenter, and what are some of the tactics and tools that I use to do that. So I set up my phone, I just grabbed, you know, some quick audio clips and video clips of the conversation we were having. So I hope this might be helpful to you. Maybe it helps you grow your team, but give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and we'll catch you guys at the end. Yeah, man, it's great to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation and just kind of chatting about, you know, how everything works, how everything is going on your side, and maybe share a little bit of the ideas of what we've been doing and how we've been making things work on our side as well. We've had a lot of success with even a small group of people to pull from, and I don't think I've figured it all out, but I'm pretty happy with kind of the current processes that I've got in place. Yeah, so that's obviously a big defining factor in you know, church size. How many people do we have to pull from for what we're doing, and kind of the volunteer group we can get. So our church, just roughly, you know, we're in the city of Richmond. Our church is about 12 years old, and we've got roughly, at this point, about 450. If we were still meeting in person, you know, I guess beginning of the year, we had 450 to 500 people with consistent attendance. And for my volunteer team, for my team members, we had about 42 people serving. So roughly 10% were in the what we call the experience team. We deal with all the Sunday morning experience, so that could be band or tech team, or obviously we've added some folks about streaming. We'll talk about that more in a little bit, but it's a pretty unique environment for us because we only want you to serve once a month. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, the church I grew up in was kind of your typical church. It was a big church, about 2,000 people, and that out of 2,000 people, you might have had 20 that served on a weekly basis. Whether it was your band or your sound team, you know, it was one of those things. Like, once you were playing drums, man, you were like the drummer. You know, once you were playing keys, or for me, I played trumpet, so it was like, once I showed up and played trumpet, it was kind of like, hey, if you're not here every week and every rehearsal, like, we got some questions about where you're at and what's going on, you know. But that's the church I grew up in. That's the normal atmosphere. Is you almost end up with this unpaid job because the expectation is, well, this is where you serve. You love the Lord, right? Be here all the time, and that's just not the case. That's a different culture than what we've got where I'm at now. And so with us, we want you to serve once a month, but we want to give other people an opportunity to serve as well. We want them to grow in their experience, and it really makes it nice because we diversify the group of people that we have on our teams, and we've got an opportunity to fill more spots. I mean, if I think about it from a band perspective, I kind of need 4 drummers. I kind of need 4 bassists. I need 4 sound techs. I kind of need 4 of everybody. And we were kind of at that point, which was nice. We had, I would say, 3.5 bands. I had 4 different engineers for all of my tech spots at the beginning of the year. Now, obviously, COVID has changed that a little bit, but that's, you know, we're all working through that right now. But hopefully that gives you a little perspective on where we're at as a church. Yeah, hey, hold on a second. I'm kind of in this music room that we've got here. It's it's the quietest room in the house with the kids running around. But my drum set is literally right on the other side of my computer, and I hear my snare drum rattling. Yeah, it drives me bonkers too. All right, that'll be better. You probably couldn't hear it, but for me, it was just buzz, 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 buzz anytime I was talking. Anyway, yeah, so what groups am I responsible for? That's a great question. Again, we call it the experience team. So we do anything that deals with Sunday morning, in person, and now live stream as well. So that's my band, my tech team, my stream production team, all of those teams, including we use a space. Our space is an old movie theater. It was built in 1928. It's the Bird Theater. It's out here in Carytown by us. It's an amazing theater, but because it's a borrowed space that we don't own, we actually set up and tear down every week. So I've got a stage manager as a different role too that goes in and unlocks the movie theater, turns all the lights on, and kind of gets the movie theater speakers cleared off stage, gets the big screen put up, and then the rest of my team comes in, and my sound guy will set up the sounds, the PA, and my lighting person will set up the lights, and the band kind of sets all their stuff up. So they've got individual roles, but that's a unique spot that churches that don't have to set up and tear down probably don't have. Yeah, so how do we bridge that gap? It's a huge gap, isn't it? People come into the tech team they walk by the tech table and they look and they're like, "Ooh, that's a lot of lights flashing and buttons and things." And they see a soundboard and they see a light console and they're kind of like, "Man, that's intimidating." But yeah, we've got to bridge that gap from the people that walk by and show some interest to getting them on the team, right? So I do these things, I call them demystifying sessions. And so typically once a quarter, what I'll do is people will show interest, and we've got connection cards, typical connection cards, or on our app, they can fill out some information and say, "Oh, I'm interested in this," or "I'm interested in that." And a lot of people will come in and say, "Hey, I'm interested in tech stuff. Where do I start?" And so once a quarter, I'll pull those people in, a Sunday afternoon or something, Sunday evening, and we'll sit down and I'll kind of have all the gear set up just in a building that we do own. I'll have all that gear set up and we're able to walk through what are the different roles. Like, what does the person that's at this computer do? That's my pro presenter person. What do they do? What does the sound person do? What does the light person do? And then how do they use these different buttons of, the different tools they've got, the consoles or computers or whatever. Now, obviously, we've added the streaming component in there. So you've got camera techs and you've got, somebody who's running switcher and stuff like that. So you've got all these different roles, but man, when people look at it, they get intimidated right off the bat. So I just do these demystifying sessions. I sit down and I try and just kind of pull the veil off and say, "You know what? Listen, I don't want you to jump on the sound console right away. It is crazy looking, isn't it? And I say, yeah, we've got a training process for that. But I just like to get them in if they've got some interest. Let them touch the things. They can't mess anything up, but let them touch it, push buttons, play with things, see what the person behind the laptop is actually looking at if they're running Pro Presenter. But that's been really successful for us. We've, again, our team is roughly 42, 43 people, depending on, where we're at in the year. And it's been really good to get that many people plugged into, a rotation. Not only is it good because you've got more people serving, but let's be honest, in the church world, how many times we get somebody that cancels kind of last minute? Now I've got a list of people I can call on that are already trained on this stuff. So it's really been helpful, and that's something that I implemented right when I came on staff, was doing those sessions. yeah, so how do I train people? What does that process look like? What does the time look like? That's a big thing that everybody is always trying to figure out. And for me, I'm always trying to refine it. If I look at the different teams, so we've got our band, which typically a band is going to have drums, bass, acoustic guitar, and then either a keyboard player or an electric guitar player, somebody that can handle kind of the lead lines. Our drummer runs our pads for us from an iPad. And then we've got vocals up front, typically a male and a female vocal. So that's our band. I've got a whole process for band. If somebody says, hey, I'm a musician and I want to get included in the band, I'd love to serve and be on that team, I've got a whole process for that. Obviously, we're talking about tech stuff, but maybe a different conversation we'll talk about band. But for my tech team, I've got a sound tech who's mixing for the house. And if you've watched any of my other video, I don't know if you watched that video or not, but how to set up a post fader mix that feeds the stream. So I've got one sound tech, and the console is kind of doing double duty. It's mixing for the house, but then if they make changes in the house, that's also going to be reflected in the stream. And so the one sound tech that's mixing for both of those, I've got a Pro Presenter person, and I've got a lighting person, and that's kind of my tech team. This is the teams that we've had established for years. And then recently we added our production team on. And the production team typically is going to have one camera tech. So we run 3 cameras. We've got a kind of a wide shot from back at our tech booth that gets a close-up crop shot of the pastor during the message time. We've got a static camera on one side of the stage that's just kind of a preset, secondary shot. And then we've also got a third shot with a camera that's actually, being manned there. They've got zoom capability and nice fluid head on the tripod, so they can get a nice motion. They can follow the pastor, or they can get different shots of the band. They can zoom in on the drums, or they can get the electric, whatever they need to do. So I've got a camera person there. And then all those cameras run into my ATEM switcher, and so that's typically being my switcher role is somebody who's talking to the camera people. They're also controlling my wide shot from the tech booth, and then they're doing the switching as well. So they're kind of crafting. They're also typically going to be the producer. So it's kind of 2 roles in one, switcher and producer, because they're effectively determining what the experience is online. So they're talking to the camera person, or they're adjusting cameras themselves. They're doing the switching and keeping things rolling. Pro Presenter, yeah, you'd asked about that earlier. Pro Presenter, we're running the NDI. We're on Pro Presenter 7, so we upgraded to that. We're running the NDI, which gives us lower thirds or any graphics that we want to put up for the stream. That's running right through Pro Presenter. So also we have like welcome videos, the countdown videos and things like that that start 10 minutes prior to our service, and that all runs through Pro Presenter. So the video is going across NDI, and then the audio is going through the soundboard, through the switcher, and then that goes through a connection right into the streaming laptop. So it's it's about 5 roles. We've got our tech team, sound, Pro Presenter, lighting. We have a camera person, and then a switcher producer person. So 5 roles, pretty much, that make every Sunday run. We also have an extra person that starts and stops the stream, and they manage comments. That's usually a staff person that's responsible for starting it on time, and then when they see the last cue come up at the end, they know that they can stop the stream then. But they're managing comments, so it's interactive. Anybody that's watching the stream from a device that can comment in, they're getting feedback and interaction right there from somebody live, which is really nice. We've got a lot of good feedback from that. But more importantly, what does my order look like? How do I bring somebody in and get them acclimated, right? We're always right now trying to train new people. We realize that a skeleton crew no longer is, 2 or 3 bones to make it work. We need 4, or in my case, 5 people to make a Sunday stream work, right? So what does that look like? My most junior position is my lighting role. All of our stuff stays pre-cabled on our stage. Our lighting board has presets in it. And so you just kind of punch through. We teach them how to punch through and figure out what preset they want to use for each song. And then they just jot down a couple notes for song 1, song 2, song 3, the message, and then song 4. They can keep track real quick, but we've got a laminated sheet of paper that's got all of the, these color mixes on it, and they can punch through and see during rehearsal. So that's my easiest role to start out in. That gets them used to being a part of Sunday mornings, used to the flow of Sunday mornings, our pre-service meeting that happens backstage. They just get a feel for what the team is like, how to use Planning Center, and how to accept and do blackout dates. And so I'm big on blackout dates. But it gets them used to being a part of the team and gets them used to kind of hands-on and doing stuff, and gets them around all these other people in these other roles. Then I can go from that. I've got my camera tech. Again, that person needs to have a little bit of knowledge or training on the camera, but it's a basic camcorder. It's on a tripod. They learn how to set the tripod up, what cables they need to plug in, and how to do the zoom and pan and all that stuff. And then they run the comms, and they figure out, they're taught pretty quick what the producer's looking for and how to translate that into their camera. So that's kind of my next role up. Some people come in and just want to be a part of the camera team. Great, there you go. I'm not even going to put them on lights. But if you want to get to Pro Presenter, or if you want to get to be a sound tech, you start on lights. All of my guys, unless they've been mixing for years, all of my people start on lights. It's a cross-training thing that I do, and so that's where I start. Bare bones, hit the lighting. I will take 14-year-old and up on lighting. It works for me. It's got a certain level of maturity. I'm sure younger folks can run it, but 14 years old seems to be the most comfortable for our church culture right now. Then I can move somebody into Pro Presenter. Pro Presenter, I don't put anybody under 16 on, and usually not even under 18, for the sheer fact that they've got to pay attention through the entire service. They got to pay attention through, the countdown video. They've got to be able to pay attention through the music. They got to hit slides at the right time. They've got to pay attention through the entire message. It's a very focus intensive role, and so I limit the age that I'm going to put, unless they're super mature. But I've got a lot of people already, so I can keep some of these other roles for my younger, more junior folks, and then I can bump them up into Pro Presenter life if they want to roll into that. So there's training obviously that comes with Pro Presenter, because whether it's different arrangements or how do you add slides or disable slides. With Pro Presenter 7 feeding our stream, we use the announcement layer for a lot of things, and then there's if it's music, it's got to kill the announcement layer and do certain things. The message, it runs all of our lower thirds, but some graphics are full frame for our stream. So they've got to get a little bit of education on that before we just toss them onto it. But in the end, ideally, the whole service is set up so they can just kind of hit the space bar and run through it. After that, so we've gone from lighting and then camera tech and then Pro Presenter. If somebody's interested in sound, I jump on it. I'm usually cross-training people. We've got the steady kind of influx of people. We keep a good wide open door for getting people included and involved in these teams. But the sound tech, I will sit down with them one-on-one for about an hour just to give them an overview of the console. They go through a process of shadowing somebody on Sunday morning to see what the setup looks like. where the cables plug in, and then they will a following Sunday they'll mix, and somebody will shadow them there to help answer any questions. And then we've also got part of my other role that I'll talk about in a minute is kind of this troubleshooting piece, because that's where everybody gets locked up tight, right? And I mean, this past Sunday, I was running around crazy troubleshooting why the pads weren't working right, troubleshooting. We had a different projector we ended up having to use at the last minute, which changed things for my ProPresenter person, and they didn't know how to jump in and change the projector setting in ProPresenter. So it's just kind of crazy. There's always this troubleshooting stuff that has to happen, which is where you get to kind of the final spot if you're either mixing or you're running switcher and producer. My producer role, because in the end, video switching is pretty easy. They're picking from a couple cameras, maybe they're changing a camera angle, and that's really about it. So it's pretty low maintenance, but they're my producer, and what that role does is they're my troubleshooting hand. So those producers have actually gone through a lot of other training with me, where they go through and they learn, how is the stage cabled? How are the cables going from the tech booth to the stage to the stream? What's the Wi-Fi password or router password for the router that we use for streaming? Where does that connect within that facility actually to the internet? So there's so many different pieces. They've got to know lighting. They've got to know everything. That's why I kind of walk them through this process, of start here, graduate to this area. If you want to keep going, we'll take you here. And in the end, my sound techs and my producers have to be able to troubleshoot so many different pieces. When you're in a building that's 85 to 90 years old, the electrical wiring is not always up to snuff, and you just get challenges that come up on a weekly basis. And so these guys have to know how to troubleshoot. My whole team has to know how to troubleshoot. If they're a guitarist, they've got to be able to troubleshoot their spot. If they're the drummer's actually setting up the drums, the drum mics. I've had to teach them how to aim the overheads and stuff. My sound engineer knows as well. But where do you set the bass drum mic? All of those things are crucial pieces that the team needs to learn, and it helps save me that I don't have to be there every week. I've got other team members that are knowledgeable, and they can go, oh, it doesn't sound, oh yeah, that kick drum is sounding really woofy. We got to push that drum mic a little further into the actual drum. Little things like that make a big difference in the end for what the experience is like. Yeah, man, this has been a great discussion. I love hearing what your church is doing, and I'm gonna take my side, my snippets of the conversation. I'm gonna stick them up on YouTube, because there's actually some questions that I've been getting in some of my other videos, and so this is actually a perfect timing. I set my phone up right over here and my mic right here, so I've been capturing it too. But yeah, man, this is great. Listen, I look forward to catching up with you later on. Be blessed, man, and we'll see what the future holds, right? Who knows what's next in this crazy 2020 year that we've been in. But be good. We'll talk soon.